Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, lived a young handsome man named Kelvin. Kelvin came from a poor family but was determined to make something meaningful for himself. Due to his background, he only completed primary school, and the rest of what he learned, like how to write and speak, he picked up on the street. He worked as a driver for a wealthy businessman, Chief Damian, who owned a large clothing company. Kelvin's life was simple, focused solely on his job and family, but one evening, something happened that would change everything. While driving Chief Damian home after a busy day, Kelvin noticed a young woman standing on the street. She was a night worker, someone who worked late hours to support herself. Kelvin couldn't help but be drawn to her. There was something special about her, and he was determined to find out what it was. He continued driving, but his mind revolved around the young mysterious woman. The next day, Kelvin returned to the place where he had seen her, and luckily for him, she was there. He struck up a conversation, and they even exchanged phone numbers. The girl's name was Oge. She was a prostitute. She had been forced into prostitution at a young age against her will. Oge's parents had borrowed a large sum of money from Madame Susie, which they invested into an online business that turned out to be a scam project. When the time came for the repayment, they were stranded and begged for more time. However, Madame Susie refused, insisting that they pay back what they owed. Since they couldn't honor their agreement, she decided to take Oge, their eldest daughter, as collateral. She assured them that Oge would work for her at her brothel, pay off the debt, and then return home. Oge was just 16, but Madame Susie didn't care. Her parents were devastated but felt helpless, and so Oge was taken away. She lost her virginity on the street, forced to sleep with different men to pay off her parents' debt. Kelvin and Oge became friends, and soon their relationship blossomed into something more. Oge tried to keep it a secret from Madame Susie, fearing the consequences if she found out. Having spent so much time together, Kelvin fell deeply in love with her and eventually decided to propose. Oge was happy, but she knew she had to tell him the truth about herself. One evening, she sat him down and explained everything. Kelvin was devastated. He felt betrayed, realizing that all the time they had been together, she had been with other men as well. He loved her, but the revelation hurt him deeply. He asked for some time alone to think things through. Oge understood and accepted his reaction. She knew she deserved it. However, she hoped that time would help him process everything. After some reflection, Kelvin, determined to make things work, decided to help Oge. He believed she had more to her. He was willing to help her achieve her dreams. He had some savings and investments, so he took a portion of his money and settled her debt. With the burden lifted, Oge and Kelvin decided to travel to her village to get married. It was an intimate gathering, attended only by close family and friends. After the marriage, Kelvin resigned from his well-paid job and started a car rental business, which soon became successful. One day, Oge told Kelvin about her dream of pursuing a degree in the USA. She had come across an advertisement for a program that allows students to work and study simultaneously, and she saw it as an opportunity she couldn't pass up. Kelvin thought for a while. He had only attended primary school, while Oge had completed her secondary school. In this case, it made sense for her to go first. He loved her deeply and wanted to be a part of her success story. To support her dream, he sold some of his valuables, including his new house and some of his cars, while also withdrawing his investment to help process her paperwork for the USA. He hoped that once she settled, she would make arrangements for him to join her. Months passed and Oge settled into her new life in the USA. However, their conversation became less frequent. Oge stopped calling, and when Kelvin called, she would often ignore his calls. At first, he assumed she was just adjusting to the new environment and the time difference. But as days turned into weeks, the distance between them grew wider. Kelvin found himself reminiscing about their time together, how cheerful and optimistic Oge had always been. He longed for those moments again. Then, after a month of barely speaking, Oge finally called him, but the news he delivered shattered him. "I no longer want to be married," she said. "I want a divorce." Kelvin was shocked. "What? Why would you say that? Baby, do you want to kill me? I love you and I know you love me too," he said, devastated. "Talk for yourself, Kelvin," Oge said with an eye roll. "Kelvin, baby, you just called me by my name. You have never called me by my name since we got married," she shouted over the phone. "Kelvin, I just used you to get what I want. And now that I have everything, I no longer need you. I can settle you with 1 million naira and we can go our separate ways," she said nonchalantly. "This must be a dream," Kelvin muttered as he ended the call. He collapsed on the ground, tears streaming down his face. He had done everything for her, sacrificed so much so she could live a better life, and now she was telling him that she was no longer interested in their marriage. He felt as though his life was over. Just then, he received a text message from Oge asking him to send his account number. More tears flowed. Desperate, he called her parents, but they told him that Oge had made up her mind and there was nothing they could do about it. They also warned him to stop calling them. Weeks passed and Kelvin hadn't left his apartment. His neighbor noticed his absence and it felt strange that he had not stepped out for so long. Concerned, he knocked on the door repeatedly, but there was no response. A sense of dread washed over him. If something had happened. Panicked, he broke down the door and found Kelvin on the ground, weak and barely conscious. Without wasting time, he rushed him to the hospital. After 2 days, Kelvin regained consciousness. When his friend visited, he explained everything that had happened. Outraged, his friend got Kelvin's approval to expose Oge on social media. However, Oge didn't respond to the accusation, and the others who interacted with the post ridiculed Kelvin. Some called him a woman rapper, claiming he had been blinded by love, while others turned his heartbreak into cruel memes. When Kelvin saw the post, he felt even worse, but his friend reassured him, "Hold on, this will soon pass." Though Kelvin tried to move on, the pain never fully left him. While the world soon forgot about his story, there was one person who had taken it personally. Aaron was a young man living in the USA. He had come across Oge's story online and decided to investigate. Curious and intrigued, he hired a private investigator to find out more about her. Once he had all the information he needed, he put his plan into motion. Aaron, a young, handsome man, and determined to make Oge his next target. He began pursuing her online, flooding her with messages, showering her with compliments, and liking all her pictures. Before long, they went on their first date, and soon after, they started dating. Aaron spared no expense. He bought Oge a luxurious gift, took her on extravagant vacation, and made her feel like the luckiest woman in the world. Oge believed she had finally found the perfect man and couldn't imagine life without him. A year into their relationship, Aaron started discussing a major investment opportunity with Oge. He told her about a $2 million business deal he was working on, but mentioned that he was short of $500,000. At first, Oge hesitated. This was a huge sum, and she wasn't sure if it was a good idea. But Aaron convinced her it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And with his charm and persistence, she eventually agreed to help. She pulled together all her savings, took out a loan, and sent Aaron the money. With the investment secured, they continued planning their future together. Before long, Aaron proposed and Oge was over the moon with happiness. The wedding day arrived and Oge stood at the altar, beaming with excitement, waiting for Aaron to arrive. But he never showed up. Instead, she received a short text message from him. "Goodbye, Oge. You thought you were playing a game, but you were the one being played. Not all that glitters is gold. Enjoy your life." It was only then that the truth hit her. Aaron had never loved her. He had been playing with her the entire time. Panicked, she called the police, hoping they could track him down. But Aaron had vanished into thin air. He took her money and disappeared, leaving Oge heartbroken and alone. She was devastated and broke. Unable to cope, Oge drowned herself in alcohol, but soon started feeling unwell. After weeks of persistent illness, she finally went to the hospital. The diagnosis shattered her. She was pregnant, and worse, she had hepatitis B, an incurable life-threatening disease. She felt broken, and around that time, the bank came asking for their money. Oge left school, took on multiple jobs so she could pay the bank what she owed them, since it was not too big. Left with almost nothing, she gathered her remaining belongings and returned to Nigeria. She searched for Kelvin, desperate to find comfort in the one person she had betrayed. But he had relocated. His lawyer had their divorce papers ready, waiting for her signature. With no other option, she returned to her parents' house, but even worse, reality hit her hard. She had been sending them some money to build her a house, but instead they had spent everything on themselves. Betrayed by the very people she had sacrificed for, Oge fell into deeper depression. And soon she gave birth. Oge stared at the fragile baby in her arms, but instead of love, all she felt was resentment. The child was a cruel reminder of her downfall, a living, breathing symbol of her mistake. Her parents, instead of showing sympathy, mocked her endlessly, reminding her of her choices that led to her downfall. Every day, regret consumed her, and for the first time, she understood what true pain felt like. Do you think Oge deserved what happened to her? Although it doesn't always happen like this. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in our next one. Bye!